Professionally, I would say since I was about 19 years old.
19?
But I really started um, taking music seriously probably at 11. I started to play bass, um, but the passion has been there since obviously I was a kid. It's
Yeah.
just always been affected by music. And my first instrument was, my parents had bought me pretty much every instrument that you could imagine as a child. I had a drum kit and a little piano and a guitar and a bass and harmonicas and things like that. But the first instrument I ever owned was a 12-string Gibson acoustic, and really didn't take the guitar all that well. And I'd never, I had it, but I didn't really like practice all that much
Right.
as at that young. I met friends in elementary school that had a guitar and drums, and my uncle happened to have a bass, and they needed a bass player, and I just immediately just picked the bass up and started playing with a bunch of friends in a garage at like 11 years old, and then also started singing and playing bass, and we started to write our own music, and we were pretty good for being that young. Like, we were writing original music. It's pretty fun. Yeah, I was playing clubs in my teens too, like 15, 16 years old, but I didn't really start playing like professional gigs. I got the opportunity to go on tour at 20 with a national act that was signed to Polygram Records. And I literally turned 21 on the road. Then I got to tour all over North America, and I was like the youngest in the band. I was always kind of the young guy in the band. I don't want to say prodigy on the bass, but I was always, but it really, I caught on quick. And once I started to realize that I could play, and it just became the only thing I really wanted to do. I mainly do solo acoustic guitar now, and how that came about from moving from the bass to guitar for me was after being in a bunch of original bands with people for years. I started to realize that I could write better songs than the people I'm playing with. So it's you can write music on different types of music on bass, but not the kind of music that I like, which was like melodic kind of poppy music, a la Beatles, Van Morrison. So I gravitated towards a melodic instrument. A friend of mine had asked me to join a duo once he left a band of his, and he was a guitar player and a singer. And initially, he asked me to do it as a bass player, and I just said, "No, you know what? I'm going to bring my guitar out." And we wound up doing a duo together for 8 years. My friend Chad Racine, and I just became a better guitar player. And I learned from him, and I learned we started to harmonize with one another, and we really became a pretty strong duo act. And then when he decided to not do it anymore because he lives in Maryland, he decided to play with a local band. I just took over his gigs. Now I've been doing it for like a good 15 years with a couple different booking agencies, local booking agents. And now I mainly do solo acoustic work. And I do band stuff. I enjoy playing with a band. It could be kind of lonely, like playing 5 nights a week by yourself in different places. Sometimes you have the fantasy gigs where people are into it, and then sometimes you're background noise in a restaurant. But you're getting paid professionally, and you take the good with the bad.
Can't beat that.
Yeah. You always want to have the intention of obviously writing a song that's a hit, or at least is catchy. So you need to be honest with yourself about that when you're writing. But no, I mean, I do have my influences, but I definitely don't try to follow trends. I might write something and say, "Oh, that sounds like this," or I want to write something that sounds more like this band or that band. But I don't intentionally sit down to do that. It's basically, for me, it's just coming up with an idea. It can start with a lyric. It can start with a vocal melody. It can start with just a riff. It can start with a chord progression.
Farthest you've been?
I mainly play in the Philadelphia area, but I'm from the Philadelphia area. I obviously try these days to get more local gigs because traveling issues. It's definitely a lot cooler to drive 5 minutes down the road and play and have your friends out. But I play as far down as Virginia, Maryland, Lancaster, PA, upstate PA. I'll go wherever they want me to play, and where the money is. Delaware. I just got off of a European tour with a friend of mine. I played in Switzerland and Germany and Austria, which was amazing. It was my first time there. I've been all over North America, but that was my first time overseas, and it was a dynamite experience, you know. And I played bass on that tour, and I also opened up all the shows with my original music acoustically.
Rockstar.
I don't think they know. I think my oldest makes fun of me, makes fun of it. You know, 'cause he's 18 years old, so he's kind of a wise ass, you know. But my youngest is 4.5, and he's seen me play since he was like an infant. You know, he's come out to shows, and he also has the bug. You know, he'll sit there and play harmonica. He carries this little trumpet around. He loves playing trumpet. Yeah, I mean, they don't. I think they've just grown up around it, so it's not really a thing for them. You know, they just know Daddy's going to work. They just say Daddy's going to work. You know. Yeah, I've been in the food business for over 20 years. I was a butcher and a fishmonger. I worked for Whole Foods, the Bruno Brothers. So yeah, that's another passion of mine. For the most part, all I've ever really done is food, retail, and music, hospitality. You know, which is that I gravitate more towards people type businesses.
Yeah.
You know, that like being a musician's great and all that, but there is a people person aspect to it, and if you're not able to navigate, um, dealing with vendors and venues and hecklers and people in the crowd, and doing the phone work and trying to negotiate pricing and all that kind of stuff. If you're not good in the people department, it's you fail. It's so. I'm really bad at that unless I'm playing with a band, because I do solo stuff, so I can pretty much like fly off the seat of my pants and do really whatever I want to do, which is one of the freeing aspects of playing solo. I don't have to worry about being in a band and playing like songs that I don't like just because everyone decided, hey, we're going to do this song. But playing with a full band is a little bit different because obviously everyone needs to be on the same page as far as what notes we're playing and what songs or what. But yeah, I mean, I'm not that great at that.
Or
I do. If people ask me, for the most part, if I get booked or commissioned to do a cover gig, I won't do it unless someone asks me to play an original song. I'll try to keep it, I think my original music is geared towards a lot of the stuff that I play too. So you probably wouldn't even be able to tell much of a difference if I played one of my originals, unless I said, hey, this is, because it'll be along the lines of the different artists that I'm trying to, play for the night or convey to the audience. So.
commitment.
It absolutely takes drive and commitment, and I think playing comfortably in front of an audience takes putting in the work.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
It's really hard for me.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to do it, and you have to play different rooms and deal with all the different types of
Personalities.
things that go along with playing different rooms. At this point in my life, I don't really get much stage fright. And I don't really get nervous playing anywhere. I'll play anywhere. I can tell you, a million different types of shows I've played over the years. Some of them are really ridiculous, and some of them are, just your standard bars and things. But I've done wedding cocktail hours where you need to be a little bit more, subtle, and I played rowdy bars where they want to hear, raucous kind of stuff. And you could be a little bit more like personality wise. You could turn it up a bit too, and get the crowd into it. But I always say that I'm compelled to play. There's been points in my life where I haven't played and I didn't even realize, or I wasn't playing. Like I was married before and like doing family life type thing, and I would pick up my guitar, but then I wasn't really playing out, and I didn't realize why I was depressed. And this was earlier on in my life, and it was because I wasn't playing. So I'm compelled to do it, and I could never see myself really retiring from music. You know, it's just what drives me. You know, it's the only thing I ever wanted to do. Yeah.
Success.
Uh, freedom, just freedom, and and no fear. You know, you should approach everything that you do. There's fear and love, and you know, you got to go with love all the time. Fear is what keeps us from doing the things that we want to do. You know, you know, you got to fail to succeed. And you know, it's a cliche, but it's really the truth. You know, you have to go out and do the things that make you uncomfortable. You know, in order to get over the hump. You know. Yeah, I would say one thing that I tell this to because I'm a father. Like, you know, have like a backup plan too. And if you're going to play music and you know you want to play music, have that backup plan coincide with music. Like if you're gonna, you know, if you're gonna be in business, if you're gonna be in the music business, you got to know how to market yourself. You got to know whether you're getting ripped off or not. So like, you know, some sort of business degree or some sort of marketing degree. Um, have a backup plan, or an audio engineer like you're doing. You know, if you're interested in recording yourself, which is always probably a smart thing for a musician to learn, because you know you can go from having some you can spend a ton of money like going to a studio and someone doesn't produce you right, you know, or doesn't engineer you, or doesn't record you right. It can completely ruin
Changes your
what, you know,
sound.
what your style is. And I've seen it happen with so many bands, you know. So I would say, like, you know, have a backup plan, you know, because music's not always lucrative. You know, sometimes you play shows for the fantasy of it, you know, which would be my original music. And then when I do cover music, it's to make money, and it pays the bills still too.